Welcome back to Junket Jam Live. If you are watching us right now, please put down your phone. And if you're watching us from your phone, please put down your television. We need all of your attention because joining me right now for a little chat, a very special guest who not only uses her divine voice to give voice to others who are often unheard within our marginalized communities, which is just about everyone in this studio, quite frankly, but she also uses her gift to empower others with joy, hope, and upliftment. She's a benevolent artist who lends her time and music to meaningful causes. As the founder of nonprofit organization Bronx Noise, she has helped to preserve a safe space for women, men, and artists of all kinds to express and explore their own musical gifts. She has also worked with Usher's New Look. That's Usher Raymond's very own foundation that helps to transform the lives of hundreds of under-resourced youth. And she has also lent her talents to help fundraise for Parkinson's awareness with the Gray Strong Foundation. In partnership with Edu Music Incorporated and Level Up Media Arts, she has also collected musical instruments and electronics for underprivileged teens. What the hell have you done today? Let's all get to know this fascinating young woman and her extraordinary journey in music and social engagement, alternative folk, blues, and R&B artist, songstress, wordsmith, producer, activist, and humanitarian, Yurby. Hey, Yurby!
Hey, what's up?
Thank you so very much for coming on to join me and share your story.
It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure for me. You were born and raised in the South Bronx.
Yes.
Your parents immigrated from the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
Looking for a better opportunity, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's the American dream.
The American dream. They came through for the American dream.
Yeah.
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
And they met in the Bronx. Yes.
Your father actually saved your mother from a shady Puerto Rican.
Yes. Kind of.
I mean, if me and your mother were friends, I would have already warned her.
My mom, so she left to DR to go visit her family while she was married to a Puerto Rican. And then when she came back, he had moved out and had stolen her money. So she vowed never to love again. She said that she would only even consider love if it knocked on her door.
Right.
And so during that time, she was also rooming with my uncle, my aunt's husband. And my aunt's husband, his sister, was taking care of my father's daughter. So his daughter had written him a note that my uncle came back from DR with. Okay. And then my dad knocked on my mother's door to get that note. And then my dad saw my mom and he was like, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
He bought her some couches. And it was a wrap from there. She needed couches. So he was like, I'll buy you some couches. And then I'm living here.
Yes, that's right.
And then
and I ain't sleeping on it either. I'm sleeping in the bed.
Yeah, and then they kicked my uncle out. So.
Oh, well, he had to go. So now, your father, who was a tailor, by the way.
Yes.
He was the one who encouraged you to start creating creating music. I know you had a poem and you recorded your first song on tape called Last Doubt.
Yes, Last Doubt. You know everything. You are so good. Yes. I was like, I'm a poet. And I used to sing just quietly to saints for some reason. I used to just sing to saints that my mom had in the house quietly. And he was like, well, why don't you just do a song or something? Take one of your poems, do a song. And I was 10. And I was like, well, how do I even do that? So he was like, well, we'll pay.
I love that.
We'll pay for your band, for you to have a band and a singer. And so I found I don't know how I found it. It was like on a commercial. Put your song on in a studio and let's get it done.
Yes,
so it was called like
boots.
Yeah, it was called Nashville Singer whatever. We paid like $400, which back then.
Did you get a video from it too?
We didn't, but we got we could only afford to pay for a cassette.
Yeah.
So I have a cassette that says Last Doubt. It was not good.
No.
But it was like the first my first song.
That's what you need. Not only, obviously, how blessed were you to have that support.
That was awesome.
At home.
Yeah.
But sometimes, not only, and just a little push, but you need to get that out of the way. Get it out of your system. Get started.
Get started.
Get started.
And I got started.
Which is the hardest thing to do.
That's very true.
But you say you were at the same time, a shy child.
Yes.
How did you overcome that to be able to perform and express your artistry?
I didn't know my spark, as I say. Like, I didn't know what I was gonna do with my life, but I knew that I needed to express myself. And I knew that as a child, I grew up in a very strict environment, and I wasn't able to say what I really felt, what I really wanted to say. And each art medium let me express myself even more. Right. So I was painting. I was known as the painter. People would come to me, draw this, and I would draw it. Then in high school, I started really getting into music, not performing yet. It was not until I graduated high school and went into college, and because of art, I was like focused on art. I thought I was gonna do fashion design, went to FIT, and then I realized that I didn't have any posters of fashion designers. I had posters of musicians. Right. It was like Bob Dylan. It was like Fiona Apple. It was like Michael Jackson's on my wall, Stevie Wonder. I was like,
your self-conscious was telling you the whole time.
Yeah, it was,
and there's nothing wrong with dipping your hand in other things. All of that is what makes you the artist you are anyway.
Right. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to sing. It was actually a transgender woman. Mm-hmm. Because
it's always because of them.
She came to my house, Mona, God bless you, and she was like, record me singing because I wrote some songs. She was singing and she had great lyrics, and I was editing her, and I was like, wow, I'd like to do this. And she was like, then go ahead and do it.
Yeah, what are you waiting for?
And I was like, shit.
Tomorrow's not promised, Yurby.
Yeah,
what are you waiting for?
So it was because of her that I really started to get out there.
Your music also exists for the betterment of others. When did you say, okay, I have a gift for helping others to find their own? It
started with something I called Lovely Sunday.
Lovely Sunday.
My family owns a house. My grandma used to live in the basement, 1 bedroom. She moved out. Mind you, 6 people moved out because my uncles were living there too. It was crazy. How much?
The uncles always come back.
Always come back. So it was empty. So I was like, I'm gonna turn this into an art gallery. And then I invited all my friends because I went to art school. We put up all this art.
Which art high school did you go to?
Fashion Industries. I went to Fashion Industries, then I went to FIT.
Okay.
It was like art,
yeah.
Right? So
I went to A&D.
A&D, art and design.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I said, we should have music.
Yes.
And that was the first of many.
Now, just talking about you as an artist.
Yeah.
You have been called and labeled bluesy, jazz, a pure soul with Latin Caribbean influence who can't be pigeonholed into neo-soul. How would you, I like how I wrote here, how would you disrobe your music? Which I guess is the same thing.
How would you
describe your music?
To me, I'm a folk singer, and then anything that I feel like putting into it, like with hands up, it sounds like reggae, but it's whatever works for the story that I'm saying. Right. It's just a story I'm telling, and like if I decide to give you R&B or I decide to give you rap, like it's a story. So I would, and then I can do it in Spanish too. So like. I look to like singers who do both things, and it's always called world music. It's not the best definition, but I would say that I'm world music because I don't want to just be in one thing.
Now I want to talk about that because you were once dubbed the Dominican.
Yes.
Dominicana.
Yes.
The Dominican Alanis Morissette, a moniker I feel like you were once proud of, but I feel like you've outgrown it.
Yes.
How have you evolved as an artist and a musician since?
So my sound was coming from the 2000s, like alternative rock, very emo, you know what I mean? And very singer-songwriter. And then I got my heart broken, and then I really started listening to blues more and R&B. And then my mom also passing really affected my music, and I was just writing I just really wanted to write more about the things that were happening in the world and that heartbreak that I felt. So it turned into like alternative R&B.
Yeah. In the Ghetto.
In the Ghetto.
In the Ghetto, which you performed for us. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I grew up in the hood in the 80s. Marlboro Projects, Red Hook Projects. You know, you could have sung about so many things, you know, discarded needles,
Oh,
the
yeah.
trash that the city never picks up. Never mind, they don't even provide enough trash cans for our neighborhoods.
Right.
The food deserts we
The
live
food
in,
deserts.
right? Instead, you lasered in on the joys of the hood. Block parties, dancing in the street, rap battles, speakeasies, family-owned bodegas.
Yes.
Why was it then?
Yes.
Why was it important for you to reflect on the positive perspectives rather than focusing on the things you could easily complain about?
Well, I think I had dreams of leaving the ghetto. The longer that I stayed, because I felt a need to be there for my family, the more I was like, the more I realized people always leave and never make a difference, right? People leave and don't give back.
Right.
So I kind of
Right.
turned into that person where I was like, I really appreciate this little bakery right here, or I really want to give back here, or look at these kids here, how can we help them? And then I started falling in love with my neighborhood instead of like trying to escape it.
How do we be that representation and show that we can make a difference if all we're doing, getting up to leave to make a difference in someone else's life who don't really need it and maybe don't even appreciate it?
That's true.
Black Cubans,
Black Cubans.
our friends in Cuba,
Yes.
fighting oppression daily.
Yes.
The protests that have gone on in Cuba because their government refuses to recognize that there are large communities within the black communities. They're suffering economically. They lack housing and material and even food deprivation. And this is coming from a country that once literally made it law banning racism,
Wow.
so to speak. But why should we care? Not just about our black and brown brothers and sisters here at home, but for those who live in Brazil, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Cuba as well.
Yeah. I mean, just humanity in general. If you see that a certain demographic or a certain people are suffering, you would think people want to, give back and see their concerns. As a Latin, or I don't know what the correct term is, Hispanic, Afro-Latino person, it does concern me because I consider them my people, right?
Yeah.
As well. Like, we're all one. So I want to say that it's not like people should care. It's you should be aware, because you can't tell people to care when they're not connected.
Right.
But you can be aware of what's going on in this state, or you can be aware of what's going on here, so that you know that your life is just, the world doesn't revolve around you. You know what I mean? And if you do have a friend who's from that country, maybe this is why they're in that situation. You know, you'll better understand people around you when you are aware of the issues.
People fight so hard to stay ignorant. It's such a job.
Yes.
If you just free your mind, it's so much easier to be connected, to understand, to be more open of what's going on. What words of advice do you have for those who maybe feel stagnant, too afraid to follow their dreams because they don't feel either secure enough, or they're just unsure of what will happen if they do?
I recently was in a position where I could have chosen to stay in a very comfortable position, or I could go down the path less followed. And I would say to those who are scared to travel that path that is unknown, everyone is afraid of the unknown, because you don't know what's going to meet you there. If you leap forward, you could have a different life. And if you take that chance, it could be much better than the one that you're living now. So I would say that you're going to have to bust your ass at everything anyway. Why not bust your ass for what you want to do, then bust your ass for somebody else's dreams?
And shout out to your mother, by the way.
Yes, in heaven.
You know, who herself has worked with people living with and affected by AIDS and HIV. Do you feel like you've caught some of that giving bug from her?
Yeah, absolutely.
Caring for others, the livelihood and help of others.
She's always been an advocate for like the underdog of the world. And even like, she actually helped a lot of her brothers and sisters get into the States.
Yes.
And she did a lot of paperwork for them. So yeah.
That's the untold story of the American dream. Everything you have to do, at least legally.
Yeah.
Right? You do so much important work within music and especially within the music community. Bronx Noise. You raised money for children's music programs. Again, collecting instruments. You've, created a platform for other artists to share their work or maybe even discover their work. Now for anyone who is looking to find out more about Yurby and your merchandise, your human merchandise.
I said merch.
Merch, because we're all celebrating each other being human. We're human first, right?
That is my favorite line of Hands Up songs.
You can find out more about Yurby Facebook and Instagram at Yurby Music. Obviously YurbyMusic.com.
Yes.
Our good friend and percussionist Ozzy, also part of the alternative high energy New York City rock and roll band In Circles. You can find more about their music at incirclesmusic.bandcamp.com. And of course, we can find more about Keith.
Yes.
You can look up more of his music on Instagram at ST4Music. And you're going to join me next, right, for a little game.
Yes.
Stick around, guys. More Junk and Jam Live with Yurby coming up next. Thank you.